wrapping up our grief series with Gabby Jimenez of the Hospice Heart today. Talking with our colleagues, Isabel Stenzel and Lisa Pahl has been great, and we've got lots of nuggets of wisdom to share. You're listening to Heartbeat from the Heart of Hospice. I'm Helen Bauer, here with Jerry Fender.
Whether you're a family caregiver or an end-of-life professional, we're here to enhance your hospice experience by connecting you with information you can use about end-of-life care. Because we know how busy life can get, Heartbeat is designed to give you helpful information in a bite-sized format. Don't miss the California Hospice and Palliative Care Association annual conference coming up June the 6th through the 10th in Orange, California. The conference theme is Back to the Basics at the Bedside and features a 2-day pre-conference on LNEC communication. Up to 16 continuing education units are available for attendees. Early registration ends April 1st, so visit calhospice.org to register and tell them you heard about it on the Heart of Hospice podcast.
Okay, I have grief over the fact that this is the last of this series, which means, Gabby, we'll just have to plan something else to collaborate on.
It was good, huh?
Yes, and it's been wonderful. So much information. I really didn't participate a whole lot in these other than to sit back and listen.
It was really good, and I can't begin to thank you for saying yes.
Oh, well, you had the idea and we snapped it up in a heartbeat. That was a bad, terrible podcast joke. But having Isabel Stenzel, social worker, a bereavement social worker, grief specialist, and then Lisa Pahl of the Death Deck, a hospice social worker, it sort of rounded out our team of clinicians. We've got spiritual, psychosocial, and clinical all together. And I think the combination of that with each of our professional and also our personal perspectives really came up with some great information. A lot of wisdom, I think, all encompassed in these 6 episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
So much information that was shared, and I think there's probably some good, as you put it, Helen, nuggets of wisdom that we all gained from listening to Lisa and Isabel. So, Gabby, let me start with you. What was one of the highlights or one of those things that really stood out to you?
So I think that we could have an entire episode just on the topics that are, like you said, Helen, the nuggets that we took away. There were so many, and it was so powerful. And I think the one that really hit home for me was the feeling of being stuck in grief. The people who have lost someone and they're trying to go to work and they're trying to move on and move forward and care for their family and friendships, but they're so stuck in their grief, they can't move forward. And that's real. And I love the way that Lisa and Isabel validated the ways that people feel after they have lost someone. And while it's got different levels of the stuckness, I think that we get that. I get that. And I think that is probably my biggest takeaway.
So Helen, what about you? You've listened to more than you have talked in these episodes. In all your listening, what did you gain? What was something that was important to you that you heard?
There was something in the episode on children and young adults and how they grieve and how to manage it. Something that Isabel said, and I actually wrote it down and sent it to myself in an email because I want to think about it, maybe write a blog about it later. She said, if you're old enough to love, you're old enough to grieve. And I was really struck by that. If you're old enough to love, you're old enough to grieve. I think sometimes we get encapsulated as individuals by our own grief, that we forget how a child would grieve, how a teen would grieve, how a young adult would grieve. And it's very easy to become wrapped up in your own emotions and not look at how the needs of someone else who's grieving, especially a child, how those needs would need to be handled, how best to handle those. I know as a young mom, I experienced the death of my grandmother who helped to raise me. And I don't remember, except some very small snippets, how my kids handled that. I mean, it's been over 20 years, but I'm not sure that I handled their needs well, or I really took the time to step outside my own grief and say, what do they need? How can I best support them? And of course, a professional would have been the biggest help. But I was really struck by that Isabel said, if you're old enough to love, you're old enough to grieve. Very interesting perspective for me.
Yeah, that was one of those nuggets that really does stand out when you hear it like that. We want to tell you about the upcoming California Hospice and Palliative Care Association annual conference. The conference features a 2-day pre-conference on LNEC communication, followed by talks on leadership, quality at the bedside, and hospice length of stay. Attendees will hear speakers from NGS, CHAP, and the California Nurses Association. Helen and I are thrilled to be partnering with end-of-life educator Barbara Carnes from BK Books to talk about getting back to end-of-life basics. The LNEC pre-conference will be held on Monday and Tuesday, June 6th and 7th, followed by the annual conference on June the 8th through the 10th. This is a great educational opportunity as well as a chance to connect with hospice vendors and other hospice and palliative care professionals. Register early at calhospice.org to secure your spot at the conference, and be sure to say you heard about it on the Heart of Hospice podcast.
What about you, Jerry?
Well, there were so many things in this whole series that to me was important for people to hear. But I think like all three of us, there are those things that affect us at a personal level. And one of the things that we talked about was how grief does not end. Grief never really does go away. 8 years ago, I lost my mom. And losing your mother is always a hard thing. At any age. I don't care whether you're young or old. It's still a hard thing. And yet it's been 8 years ago. And yet I still find myself having those moments when something happens, I hear something, I see something, I remember something, and I feel the tears just burning. And I realize that I'm still grieving that loss all these years later. And so I really am grateful to Lisa that she talked about that and how important it is for us to still accept our grief, even though it's been 8 years or maybe 50 years. It doesn't really matter. That grief is still grief, no matter how old we are or how long it's been. And so I'm grateful to Lisa and Isabel because they both talked a little bit about that, and it kind of validated my own feelings at times when I feel that grief begin to come up inside me again. And I'm grateful that they were willing to share those thoughts and those helpful messages about that as well. Well, this is going to be the last episode for this series, and like Helen, I'm kind of sad to see it end. But I'm so grateful that it happened, right? And Gabby, thank you for your idea and your suggestion. You were just amazing to bring this to us, and so amazing in helping to facilitate the conversations with Lisa and Isabel. So we are grateful to you. Thank you so much. And we're going to make sure that we put your Hospice Heart on our show notes so that people can find you and find your blog and read more about you, and also on Facebook as well. So, Gabby, do you have any last words that you want to share with us?
I think what I want to say is that grief is real. When you lose someone that you love, you can't help but feel sadness and ache, and it does not go away. There is no time clock. It doesn't follow a calendar. And I want to encourage anyone out there who is experiencing any type of grief from whatever loss that you have experienced to know that there are resources for you. There are people out there that are there for you. Please do not give up hope. And if you know someone who is grieving, and this is the most important thing, never stop checking in on them. Never ask them to stop talking about someone that they love and that they have lost. As a community, as a world, as the human race, I think that we need to change the way we are doing things. And if we start by reaching out to one another, supporting one another, hearing people, meeting them where they're at, validating their feelings, perhaps kindness will prevail and we can be a stronger, kinder world. And it starts with letting people know that their feelings are valid. Talk about it, share it with your friends and family, check out the resources, and please always check in on someone who is grieving.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to end. Gabby, we love you. We love the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for being our partner on this series.
Thank you both so much. I cannot begin to tell you how thrilled I am that you said yes when I reached out to you. I am honored to share this with you.
Thanks for listening to Heartbeat from the Heart of Hospice. I'm Jerry Finter here with Helen Bauer. Because we know your hospice journey is 24/7, you can always find us at theheartofhospice.com. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening and leave a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts.
To connect with us, you can send an email to host@theheartofhospice.com. You can also find us on social media. And remember, no matter who you are or where you are in your hospice journey, you are the heart of hospice.